The first thing that I am going to do is just give kind of a brief snapshot of the command center, so you guys can see that. Okay. Now, what I've done is I've logged into one of the newest franchisees login, which is Billing Station 266 with Stuart Washes. I was actually just helping him get this configured this morning so he could access Command Center on his system. As a matter of fact, that's the first thing I actually want to address. Global Trans made the decision some time ago to make their transportation management system available as a web portal, and not a piece of software that lets you download onto your computer. They wanted to do that so there would be accessibility no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing. If you're not using your own computer, you can hop on and access the command center. Now, because this is designed to be a full transportation management system and not a quote shopping and booking interface, it was a rather heavy system. So they used a program called Silverlight. Now, at the time, Silverlight, it's a browser application, browser extension, and it was universally accepted on all browsers. Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, and Mozilla Firefox, universally accepted. But as web pages evolved, the support for that type of browser extension, with the updates that browsers were doing, it was not being supported first by Chrome and Safari, and then eventually by the formal version of Mozilla Firefox. And even the newest Microsoft Edge, which is their replacement for Internet Explorer, no longer supported that type of extension, so Silverlight couldn't be run. And Global Trans is in the efforts right now. In the beginning of next year, we're not sure 100% on the date, but they are finalizing the update to have a Silverlight-free version of Command Center that will be able to run on any browser, and also just like mobile compatibility as well. That just has not occurred yet. So for the time being, there's only two browsers that efficiently run Command Center. One is Internet Explorer, and you'll be prompted to download Silverlight. The other one, and I'll send this over to Steve Chisholm at the end of the call. We've actually just come across a shipment, a business level version of Mozilla Firefox that will still run Silverlight. So I'm actually running, right now, I'm running Command Center on Firefox, and I'm going to provide Steve and Steve to distribute that link out to also all of the franchises and anyone who needs access to Command Center, a link that you can download a version of Mozilla Firefox that will be able to run Command Center. And I personally find it to run Command Center better than trying to run it on Internet Explorer. Okay, so first disclosure there. Now that I've done that little asterisk disclosure, let's talk a little bit about the interface. So I kind of want to do an organic presentation, going step by step. Let's say, for example, one of the franchises is a brand new client. We can set them up in the system to be able to run quotes for them, to be able to get them logged on to the customer interface, which is called Carrier Rate, which doesn't need Silverlight, by the way. And kind of wants to, the full process. We're going to go through that process now by creating a demo account for 266 Norfolk. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to customer management, and then we're going to go to the customers tab. And by the way, also, Steve, you're going to get a PDF that has, this whole flow that I'm going through in this presentation is going to have it broken down for you as well. Okay. So we're going to go customer management, customers. We're then going to go to create. Okay. And you'll notice that the first thing you'll notice that these are the only fields that can be typed into. And so let's go ahead and start. by creating that demo account. The customer name, we're just trying to do 266 demo. Now in this case for the customer name, Stuart has thought of the idea of creating a couple different demo accounts where those margins are at a different level. So we're going to establish margins for the shipment system. And so in this one, let's say we're going to set up at a 15% margin, so that when you're doing a demo and they're seeing their cost, there's already a 15% margin built in. Okay, and then on phone number, I'm just going to put in actually our office's information here. Okay, and get that going. Okay, we're going to click the magnifying glass, and that allows us to fill in the rest of the information here. Okay, so I'm just going to do that really quickly. Oh, it's actually not typing. Hold on 1 second here. Please. We're just going to. Okay, just to make it simple here, we're going to say all the information is the same. Okay, and on the username. Okay, and then now this part, so far what I've done is very self-explanatory. It's just filling in the information about the customer. However, one thing I wanted to address is the carrier rate master account settings part of this portion. Now, if I were to at this moment just click the save button, okay, it would send an email to the email that you've placed here, prompting them to create a password to access the carrier rate. And it's just going to be a do not reply email. Okay, very generic. And also, it may be a little bit of surprise. They may not know what they're getting themselves into. They may not even know what it's in reference to, since it's going to be an email from Global Trans. And you guys are representing InXpress. You guys are InXpress. And even for my office, for example, I make this my protocol where I uncheck it, I need a password. Now that password requires at least 8 characters. It requires letters, numbers, and 1 capital letter. We usually use, and I'll type it down here so you guys can see, we usually just use a generic password for all our customers of ship1234. Okay, so we're actually going to do that right now, ship1234, and then confirm it. And we're going to ready for that. So we got the information put in for the customer. We're going to click save. Okay. And it's going to take a moment while it loads. Okay. So that phone number that we tried to use for ours was already used. Because it was just a demo account, right? We're just going to change it to 3701. No one's going to be having to contact, this account. It's just a demo account. Okay. But basically that pop-up was just alerting that that phone number is already in use. Okay. Same thing with the email. So now that it's saving those changes, it'll take a quick moment. It's creating the account in the system. Okay. Customer created successfully. Please note that margins and a credit limit must be set for the customer before they can book any shipments on carrier rate. Carrier rate, once again, is the customer access. Okay. So then go ahead and click OK. The very first page it takes you to when you're creating the customer is the margin tab. Okay. This is how money is actually made, right? We don't want to give it to the customers at our cost. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about this page because we want to address this as we're setting up the customer. And on the first one, we're basically just going to go all the way through it. So the very first thing is, do we want to add a markup for any time they need a lift gate, or they are picking up or delivering to a residence. One of the reasons why this is included is, for those of you who are familiar with freight, you know that when there's a lift gate or a resident involved, there's usually extra work that has to be put in by the agent to make sure that the shipment goes smoothly. Okay, and so they've created that option to be able to kind of already account for the fact that you're going to have to put some extra work into this. Okay, so let's just say, $5 for each. All right. Now we're to default margin setting, and it has this graph here. Let's talk about that real quickly. Pretty simple to understand if you just take a moment to look at it and process it, right? On this side of the matrix, we have the length of the haul, so that's in miles, right? And then we have the weight. Now, obviously, something that is 500 pounds and less than a 500-mile lane, it's going to be a cheaper shipment, right? And so a lot of times, for example, people will have their highest margins here, and you can customize this, right? So let's say you want to do 20% margin here and go down to 10% here across the board. If you want to dabble in that to kind of balance out, how much money is being made off of these shipments, you can feel free to customize it. Or you just go in, put in a percentage, click apply to all, and it'll automatically fill all of this in. Okay. You're also going to want to put that same percentage right there in your minimum profit percentage of 15%. Okay. You're going to want to fill that in. Now that we get that filled in, let me stop right here for a quick second and give a quick moment for any questions in the process so far. Are there any questions with what I've explained? Okay. I think we can take that as a we're good so far. Yeah, everything's clear. Sorry about that. Please. What can I address for you? No. Everything is clear. I think you're good. Everything is clear. Okay. Yeah, it's rather self-explanatory, to be honest with you. It's kind of just following the steps, right? Now, let's go ahead and move forward to the override margin settings by carrier. Okay. This right here really allows you to customize the experience with the customer to a great degree. Override margin settings by carrier can be used for anything from, let's say, there's carriers that customer absolutely does not want to work with. Let's say they give you a list. I don't want to work with, I don't want to name any specifics because I don't, it's not my place to put on my opinions of carriers as well, right? At this point. But, let's say they don't like customer XYZ. They don't like carrier XYZ. They don't like, what's that? Okay, so let's say, for example, we'll just take the very top one for it to be impartial, right? Let's say they don't want to work with ACI motor freight, okay? And so you can go into that add new override setting, okay? Select the carrier that is being mentioned here. You can block them completely. So when they go on to carrier rate, or also too, when you go on to command center to quote a shipment, ACI motor freight in this example will never pop up, never. And then let's say, for example, that they have worked with A2E Pile before, and they say, hey, I get really good pricing with A2E Pile. Okay, I get really good pricing, and I'd like to keep on getting that really good pricing because I've also got a good relationship with the driver, right? And you can actually select A2E Pile and put in here instead override that will calculate A2E Pile's margins at a different percentage, okay? And so you can make sure that they will never think that they can still go directly to AV Piles, for example, and get better pricing by going direct, right? Even if you don't know their exact pricing, or maybe you do, maybe you got a great customer that will disclose that information, right? You can go in and customize that, right? It's where, you know, it has that. You can also enable spot quotes on carrier rate, okay? Or you can turn that off. Spot quotes can confuse some customers who don't know freight very well because of the fact that they're, you know, it's not something you can save and use 3 days later, okay? So unless they're very aware of how to interact with a spot quote, you know, you may want to turn that off. Let me stop you there for a second. I have a question. Yeah, please go ahead. Those spot quotes you were mentioning, is there any way they have something to kind of go and determine let's say the terms of that spot quote, like how many days it's valid for, what date will it expire? I don't know, something like that. Oh, well, and so it'll actually based on. So the carriers are constantly providing us with information on their spot quote, and it'll actually disclose that information in carrier rate when the spot quote's available. Okay. Yeah, and so basically it'll say, you know, this is how long it's good for, but it's still not something you can go in and save. So basically the customer would have to, once they, because also too, the carrier can rescind that spot quote at any time, right? So it'll say, you know, the estimated validity of the spot quote is this much time, but to get that spot quote again, if they don't book it right away, they're going to have to go in and rerun the quote rather than pull up a fake quote. Does that make sense? Yeah, of course. Okay, perfect. Anything else that I can follow up on that? No, thank you. That's all. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've now set up margins for this. Let me go in though and just because I am setting up the demo account at the same time, right? Actually, I'll need that. Okay. All right, now you'll notice that every time you make a change to one of these tabs, you'll have the yellow unsaved changes detected. Okay. If I exit out of here right now, those overrides will still exist. You need to click save to update those changes. Okay, that's another important thing that I really want to emphasize. All right. So those changes are saved. All right. Now we've created this demo account at 15%, hence the 15 there. All right. So this, you know, profile now has an account that we can go to the next step, which is actually running an LTL quote. Okay. Now, one thing too that I'm almost done finalizing, we have over 130 carriers that we have LTL tariffs with specifically, and I'm out about. I'm over halfway done going through the individual tariffs to provide a list, a matrix of exactly how much weight and how much linear feet each carrier will move as defined as an LTL shipment. Okay. Generalizing that process, though, we have been telling the InXpress offices just to keep them safe, to not book something under the LTL carriers that in fact isn't an LTL, and help them avoid rebills, right? Up until this point, we have provided them with the information that an LTL is either six standard pallet spaces worth of trailer or 10,000 pounds or less. Okay, so far that is the protocol we are providing to people, that is what qualifies as an LTL shipment. And that's what we're sticking to until I've gotten this sheet down to where it's very easily understandable, as well as providing information to franchises about how to properly calculate linear feet. Now, obviously, for people on the call who have freight experience, you get linear feet. However, I'm working on once again an easy explanation of how to calculate linear feet, right? So for the time being, we've kept it rather simple. Of if it's going to take up 6 pallets or less of a standard pallet spacing on a truck, or 10,000 pounds or less, that's LTL. But soon within actually,
but that depends, right? I'm sorry. That depends on every dimension of the standard size sheet, right? Because if it's 40 by 48, you can turn them and it's going to be 10 feet or 12 feet.
12 feet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So 12 feet is what we've been telling people, but it's more of so they can kind of rationalize and understand that we've been explaining it that way, right? Because once again, 12 linear feet, some people don't understand that if a pallet is, for example, 60 inches wide, right, then that pallet, you can't put another pallet on the side of that if it's a standard size pallet, right? So it takes up 4 feet. So obviously, we get that and you understand that. So it's 12 linear feet and 10,000 pounds has been our generalization at this point. And so I'm actually going through this evening and going to finish up that sheet though, to where you guys can understand exactly which carriers can do how many feet. Okay. There's actually a couple carriers that can do up to 25 feet as an LTL shipment. And, and can do 19,999 pounds. Okay. Now that does create a gray area though, because if you're working with customers that are price driven, everyone's always price driven, we know that, but some people calculate price and service, speed, right, to make their decisions. Once you go over 12 feet though, you may be looking at cheaper options running it volume instead of LTL. And so that's been another reason why we've kind of generalized it, because there's a little bit of a rationale of looking at a shipment and going, okay, what are the different ways I should be looking at running this so I can provide the options that my customer's looking for? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, that's been the most difficult part of creating this information, because really you have to, if you're going to utilize those extra feet, for example, in LTL, you really have to have an understanding of, am I giving my best option to the customer? So,
right.
But once again, all of that information, part of that information will already be sent out. Each of them, for that to do once this call is done, and the rest of that information actually will be sent out on Monday. Okay. And so that'll be complete. So the next step, though, is let's say you just have done something with that customer. Well, let me first take a quick stop here. Are we going to move on to how to quote on the system? I'm going to take that as a yes. So now that we've set up the customer, let's say they can say, okay, fine, here's my information, run me a quote. So the natural progression is on the top tab is quote/manage.
Hey, Joshua, right? Hey, Joshua, I just want to give you a heads up over here. Our computers are not taking the microphones, all right? So that's why probably when you ask everything, some questions, you get a silence. We're all attentive to the just not getting the. I'm trying to fix that so they can talk through the microphone. And you can hear them anytime they have a question, okay? We're all here attentively. Uh-huh.
Josh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Dave.
Okay, good. You mentioned the difference between markup and margin.
Actually, if you want to take a quick moment and explain that difference, because I know you explained it really well to a couple of people recently. So if you want to chime in and explain that really quickly.
Hello, everybody. This is Dave Wade. I'm the Emperor of Biologistics Department.
How are you doing today?
Okay, I just wanted to mention that there's a difference in the way AccuFreight and Command Center do the markup. And what it is the difference between the markup and the margin. So it's going to give you some different numbers, and you just need to be aware of it. If you put in, if you have $100 base cost on a particular shipment, and you want to make a 20% markup, if you put it into AccuFreight, it will be $120, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. However, we do, and don't ask me why, but we have a system that marks it up by margin. And what that means is not that if you multiply it by 1.2, you get 120. If you take the finished product and divide it by 80%, you're going to wind up with $100. So here's what happens. Here's what happens kind of in the I mean, it's kind of complicated, but basically, if you put a markup of $20 into AccuFreight, 20% into AccuFreight, the customer is going to get spit out a quote of $120 for that particular shipment with a base cost of $100. If you have the same shipment, the same base cost with global trends, and you put in a 20% margin, and there's no way to change it, it's going to come out $125 because of the way it's calculated. It's typically about 5% higher. So what I'm telling you is you may have a base, if you put them out that way and they took global trends, you're going to make more money, but that's not the point. The point is, if you're trying to compare apples and apples, it's going to be kind of difficult because even if we already calculated it out, if you had a base cost of $100 from AccuFreight and a base cost of $98, in other words, the base cost is lower with global trends, and you put 20% in on both of them, it's going to still show that your customer that you're higher would be relatively apples and apples. So I am creating a little chart to help everybody figure it out. But typically, right now, if you put a 20% margin on a markup in AccuFreight, if you're going to do the same thing in carrier rates, sure put in a 15%, and it'll be apples and apples. So you'll wind up with that way.
Okay.
So that's what I wanted to tell you. It's kind of a crazy thing that we recently discovered because we've got a list of shipments. And they're like, how come you're higher than AccuFreight? Because you're not. We calculated them all. They're like, we're not higher, we're lower. And it's because of that silly way that the market is calculated. It's just different. We actually have a lower base rate, but if you use 20% in AccuFreight and 20% with carrier rate, because it's calculated differently, it's about 5% higher in about what we would project.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for taking long to explain that. And so,
thank you guys.
Yeah. It's more details to understand that, certain things are calculated, a little bit differently, where, the advantage really is still there. So, okay, we have scheduled we're quoting at this point a trade show shipment from Payson, Utah to Miami, Florida, 5,000 pounds for pallets. Now, there are 3 carriers that are national carriers that have trade show services: YRC, UPS, and ABF. All 3 of those we can, after scheduling a shipment, contact them directly, and you guys can actually do this too. And you guys can actually, contact them after the fact and say, hey, we're with InXpress, Gold Trans, and this is a trade show shipment, and so they can make sure they put in their system correctly to already sync things up to where, that destination terminal, for example, where it's going to a trade show, they're already having someone in charge of handling those trade show shipments to the booths and everything, and they'll, flag the shipment as a trade show shipment. Okay, and so that's that's what we populated here. Let's take a step back. Actually, go back to the quote. Okay, we'll see this linear kind of flow chart of the steps. We're going to say this isn't a trade show; it's actually a business, but they need a lift gate. Okay, I just want you to see though, some of the different options that pop up when we're not doing trade shows, because there's very limited carriers that pop up. Okay, so we're going to hop back into there. YRC actually still came up as the lowest cost carrier to move those 5,000 pounds from Utah to Florida at a 15% margin. Now, what you'll notice here is we have 2 different prices. We have cost and rate. Rate is what your customer would see if they went on the carrier rate and ran the shipment. Okay. Now, let's say though, you have a customer that says, hey, if you can move this shipment that I have for $2,000, you can move it. It's yours. Well, you see right here that your cost is $18.68. You can actually just go in and, just to be, facetious, right? Put in for, you go, hey, I got you $1 left, right? And then from there, you can schedule the shipment just by clicking book it. But before I click that, and obviously we're not going to go all the way to the point of scheduling the shipment, because this is a live interface, and it actually would try to send YRC out to Payson if we got that far. Let me point out a few nice features about this quoting page. Okay, and the first one being these little check marks here. Let's say they want some options. Okay, let's say they want the cheapest option. Let's say they want a faster option. So YRC accelerated, even though it's the same carrier, it's different lanes. It runs faster, right? And let's say they tell you, hey, I really like working with UPS, and so I just want to see what UPS can do this for. Okay, so you can select the UPS, YRC accelerated, YRC, and here you can save the quote, and you can also save an email, and it actually pulls up a really nice format, and I'll actually pop it up on I'll send it to myself, okay, and then drag it over so I can show you guys. It actually pulls up an interesting little format here. Okay, let me know. You guys seeing that email just dragged over? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this is the format that it sends over when you do save an email. Okay. You'll notice it says carrier 1, 2, and 3. Well, if you copy and paste this into an email to your customer, you can easily just go in and, type in YRC accelerated. And of course, my typing skills are failing me right now. let's see, accelerated and UPS, right? You'll notice that I put it at $19.99, and that's what it's showing on that quote format. Okay, and it provides with a lot of information that the customer can use to make their decision, right? When it was quoted, to and from, liftgate drop-off is included. It shows that this quote is only valid until November 3rd, right? Tells them how many miles, you know, the details that you used to put in, right? Maybe they know there was something about freight, or maybe they forgot to mention that it's hazardous materials. Or maybe they go, hey, I normally run this at a class 85, right? So it provides them with a lot of information. It's a very nice, you know, format to also send that to your customer. Okay, so that right there is a tool that you can utilize. So I'm going to go ahead and just close that out. So that's what happens when you just save an email. Okay, and then you click book it, and we can actually do that without worrying about sending this out so far. Right. Once again, very self-explanatory. Shipper, consignee. Now at this point, I did not enter in a commodity and an NMFC when I was quoting this out. It will not let me move forward at this point. I can, you know, fill this in all I want. If I leave these two things blank and click next, it won't move forward. Okay, it will highlight these two items. I have to provide an NMFC and I have to provide a commodity. Now I know some systems that are out there don't require you putting an NMFC. Putting an NMFC is a decision that was made for our own protection. Because what happens a lot of times is carriers go, they didn't put in an NMFC. We can say it's actually this NMFC, it's a different class, and they don't have any documentation proving what they think it is. And so rebills, you know, this right here, putting an NMFC is for your own protection, to make sure that you have something to go to the carrier in case they try to rebill you because they say it's a different commodity, a different NMFC code. Okay, so we do require that just across the board. It is what it is, and it's actually for the protection of ourselves and our customers. Okay.
If you don't have access to it, you're going to have to find the correct one.
Say that again?
Said if they don't have access to the NMFC number, wonder what it is, we can give them some tools or some resources or help them find it.
Right. Yeah, we can provide you with we can either look it up for you. You can contact us directly, and we can look up the NMFC for you. Or I'll just tell you right now, yrc.com has a live chat feature. You don't have to have a login. You don't have to, you know, have any sort of credentials with them. You can do a live chat, provide them the information of the commodity. They'll provide you the NMFC in class.
We actually use a tool, Class, which is very helpful. So that's something we can use. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You've got tools. That's awesome.
And it is faster because sometimes on the chat or through the website, it takes longer. Yeah.
Josh, can I throw one more thing on history, right? Josh? What?
This is Dave. Can I throw one more thing in here?
Yeah.
You go scroll up a little bit. The previous addresses, if you save the address book to any ones that are previously saved, you can just put them in so it's a lot quicker than having to type them.
Right. Matter of fact, let me show you a quick example. I'll actually hop over really quickly. This is my login. And actually, if I were to, if I were to put in a zip code here that has already been used for direct freight, so it's individual to the client, right? It doesn't save all addresses for access to any client. And then if I were to, let's say I were to put in 90221, which is Rancho Dominguez, and I've shipped from, you know, there many times before. When I click address book right there, it'll auto-populate any addresses that I've used in that zip code. Okay, so that just makes it that much faster, you know, moving forward, right? So yeah, from here we kind of get ourselves into kind of get ourselves into, not being able to move much forward before YRC gets an alert. But let's go ahead and I can actually do one last step. So let's just oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is the last page we can go to. Here you can put in any reference numbers. If the customer wants the POL to be a specific number for their tracking purposes, let's say they don't want to use our POL number. And so, yeah, you can put in the PO number there that will appear on the system, on the page. PO reference. If it's not going to pick up today, but it's actually going to pick up Monday, right? Now, you guys probably know this already, but I'm going to hit on it anyway for those people who are listening. Pickups with carriers, with LTL carriers, almost always occur in the afternoon. Okay, we will have the occasional person who will go on the carrier rate and say, hey, 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. is our pickup window. The carrier is not obligated unless we reach out to them and make arrangements, right? The carrier is not really obligated to alter their routes when almost all pickups happen in the afternoon. So, just to be aware of that. If you see a customer requesting that, make sure you reach out to the carrier, or make sure that there's some sort of afternoon availability if they can't give it to you. You can put in your pickup remarks, delivery remarks here, and then and then from there you can just click book it. It'll generate the bill of lading for you, and you can also EDI dispatch it right then to the carrier and send it over to them. And from there, once again, there's a natural progression there. Any questions so far? Okay, so we're actually going to back out of this one. All right, we're not going to ship that. I can actually just click any other tab and it'll kind of abandon it. Okay, so that shipment didn't actually happen, right? Now from let's say we quoted it, right? We booked it, and we EDI dispatched it. Okay, so it's been sent over electronically to the carrier to schedule the pickup. But now we want to see it and track it. And it hasn't been picked up yet. So you go to shipments, right? View, LTL. This drop down allows you to filter which shipments are going to display in this list right here. Okay, so you can choose to see all shipments that are in the system still within a certain date range. You can see pending shipments. Those are ones that have not been electronically or manually sent to the carrier for pickup yet. Dispatched that haven't been picked up, in transit, delivered, so forth. Once again, pretty self-explanatory. Now, I want to highlight two things: the dispatched and in transit options. About 60% of the time, the carrier will successfully transmit electronically that a shipment that was dispatched has now been picked up, and they provide a pro number. But that other 40%, it never got to us, either because they failed to communicate electronically or something in the two systems didn't match up about the pickup, and so they sent a message to Global Trans system with no, without the proper details about which shipment it was, and so it doesn't link up with the shipment you scheduled. And so a lot of times the shipment will still be in dispatch, but it's actually been picked up. Okay, so there's a little bit of tracking that has to be done on the dispatched and in transit windows. Dave, do you remember? Is it 9:30 Mountain Standard Time that we found that the electronic updates come in? Dave, you there? Maybe not.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go with that. Yeah, there's not a for sure time, but typically they should be in by 10 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah. So typically any shipments that are going to get electronic communication back from the carrier that they have been picked up, and so they'll no longer be in dispatch, happens 10 o'clock or before. Okay. So basically, you guys providing support to the offices, if there is going to be some proactivity there, it would be a nice activity, and it's something that our assistants do individually for us. Is they'll go in and go, okay, these are the ones that are still there. They either didn't get picked up, or we didn't get the pro number communicated to us. And so they'll reach out and the carrier will either say, yeah, it got picked up, here's the pro, or they'll say it didn't get picked up, here's the reason why. Most of the time, you guys can probably understand this. The real reason the carrier didn't pick it up, if we know the freight is ready for sure, right, is they either didn't have some sort of reference number that they were supposed to, even though the carrier does receive that when we electronically dispatch it, but they just didn't put it all the way through their system so the driver would have it. Or they showed up after the pickup window. Sometimes we even give them a 4 p.m., 5 p.m. pickup window. Driver drives up at 5:30 and places closed, and he just puts no freight in the system, but it really was that he showed up after the pickup window. Okay. Those, you probably are going to be already prepared to tell the carrier to just put it back on the board to pick up. Okay. The ones that have been picked up, you're going to put the pro into the sales order. As a matter of fact, let me pull up one of ours. Okay, so you can see what that sales order looks like. I'm just going to pull up this shipment right here. Okay. And so this is what the sales order actually looks like once it's been built. So there's a BOL, everything. Actually, I'll show you guys a BOL in a quick second as well, as far as what our BOLs look like. And so what you would do once this has been picked up, actually, is you would put the pro number in there, because let's say it didn't get that electronic communication, right? You put that pro number in there, you put the day it was picked up, so let's say it was actually picked up on the 30th, and today's the 31st in this case. And then you would just click the finalize button. That's going to move it from dispatched to in transit. Does that make sense? Okay. Perfect. By the way, for some reason, the sound is coming through really low when you guys are talking now. I'm not sure why. Hopefully you're hearing me clearly.
No, we are listening.
Okay, good. So yeah, that right there would be, how you would change that from dispatch to in transit. Pro number, pickup date, and then finalize it down below. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's hop back over. And then in transit, obviously, is how you guys are going to keep track of the shipments that are in process. You guys can decide, with the individual franchises and everything, what your protocols are going to be as far as how often tracking is done on shipments and everything like that. So any shipment that is guaranteed, obviously you're probably going to, because there are guarantee options on shipments. Obviously those you're probably going to want to follow a little bit closely, make sure they're on track to deliver on time, so we can fix the problem before it actually happens. And I'm sure you guys know too that with with freight that is not guaranteed, if it says 4-day ETA, exactly what that means. ETA is estimated time of arrival. You know, we also need to make sure we're orienting our customers with that. If they ask for, you know, if you're quoting them, make sure you use the term ETA. You know, don't belittle them by, you know, making some big explanation that, hey, make sure you understand that this is an estimate, it's not guaranteed, unless you request to guarantee the shipment, right? Obviously don't do that, because you're probably not going to create a lot of loyalty that way. But still, you know, make sure we're using the right verbiage so that they ask for what the transit time is. You say, oh, that's a 5-day ETA, because we don't want them to, on the 6th day, you know, blow a gasket because, you know, they were under the assumption that it was absolutely going to arrive there, you know, in that, you know, business day transit time, right? But, you know, this is how you'll, you know, be able to track those. It'll all populate there. Now, a couple other things I want to highlight real quickly that are going to be given in more detail in the sheets that are going to be sent to you here quickly. But I at least want you guys to know where to go and where to view them, is disputes, okay? Disputes are not for damaged freight. Disputes are for rebuilds. So anytime you quote a customer, you know, let's say you quote a customer, you know, $300, your cost was $250, and then something happens in that shipment and the carrier bills you $300, and it eats away all of your margin, those are going to be handled in the disputes tab, okay? Now, what happens is you guys are going to get set up with email notifications anytime a carrier cost comes in higher than what was originally quoted. There's an email alert that goes out. Now, with the franchise that you guys work with, you're going to make sure, you know, proactively tell them to make sure that you're on that email list so that you can get those as soon as they happen. Okay. Now, as soon as that happens, you have 4 days before that rebill is actually going to be invoiced. Okay, so there's a processing time on a rebill. You have 4 days before it actually invoices. Okay, so if you can start dealing with that rebill before it actually invoices, it'll delay the invoicing so that there's a chance to fix it before it even gets invoiced to InXpress, and InXpress invoices it to the customer. Okay, so you can proactively prevent that. Any rebill that is still in that pending process will automatically be in the active tab. Okay, that's how you'll view those, is because they'll be in the active tab. Anyone that has gone past that and has already been invoiced, it can still be disputed, okay, but it will just be disputed post-invoicing, and that's in the last opportunity tab. For finding the shipments in the last opportunity tab, make sure that you also are utilizing the time frame. A lot of times someone will call me up and be like, hey, I'm in the system and I'm in the disputes, I'm in the last opportunity, but I can't find my shipment. It was definitely rebilled a month ago. And the first thing I'll tell them is, look at the time frame, adjust that appropriately. Okay. From there, and so what happens is, let's say there's something in the last opportunity that you want to dispute. Anyone that's in the last opportunity you want to dispute will have a little red kind of refresh circle right here in this DISP column. When you click that, it'll move it back to active. Okay. From there, you can open it up and start the dispute process. And I'm going to provide you with a list where every type of rebuild, there's lots of different types of rebuilds. There's reclass, relay, reconsign, you know, all of those different types of rebuilds. For each of those different types of rebuilds, there's different evidence you will have to provide to dispute that rebuild. Okay. So let me provide you with a few caveats though. If the customer cannot provide the customer cannot, not the customer, if the carrier, if YRC, XPO, SIA, UPS, if they don't have their documentation to prove the reason for the rebill, you can kind of just point that out in your dispute, and since they can't prove it, it's default, they can't rebill you, and it'll get reversed, okay? But 97% of the time, and 97% of the time, those rebills do have, the proper, documentation that is required for them to bill us a different amount, either a weight inspection sheet or, other types of documentation. To dispute it, you need to be able to provide the documentation that would refute that. Okay? To give you a brief example, the easiest one for me to lay out for you is a reweigh. Okay? Let's say, for example, you ship something at 2,000 pounds. Let's be more exact, because everyone knows here the likelihood of something weighing exactly 2,000 pounds is pretty unlikely anyway. So let's say the customer is actually being exact, and they're saying, this weighs 2,136 pounds. Okay? And then the carrier comes back and says, no, actually it weighs 2,567. Here's the additional cost. Okay, and they have a weight and inspection sheet. You have two types of ways to dispute that. Okay, you can either dispute that by the shipper proving that they have a certified scale that was certified within a certain period of time. I believe it's quarterly. And you have, proof that they have a certified scale, and then proof that that shipment was weighed on that certified scale. Or you can provide a commodity description of the product that was shipped, along with a packing slip. Okay, so the commodity description of the packing slip will then be able to say, hey, there was 60 units on this pallet. Each unit weighs, I'm trying to be accurate here in my example. So I said 2,137 pounds divided by 16. Each unit weighs 35.6 pounds. And there was 60 units. So the packing slip and the commodity description would prove that. That gives you enough evidence to try to dispute the carrier's claims back, right? So the system, when there is a rebill in the system, there is a place for the carrier's documents where they prove their reason for the rebill, and there is a place for you to upload your proof. Okay? So basically, in the dispute tab, you would pull up that shipment, you would request the carrier docs, and you would upload your docs proving otherwise. And then you would submit the dispute, and then our invoicing department goes to the carrier and says, here's their proof, can you counter it? And it goes through a rebill dispute process. Are there any questions about that? Not so far. Okay. So yeah, obviously I don't have it visualized here. I'm working on getting some screenshots of those so you guys can see them. So you can actually visualize it a little bit better. Once again, all of those are either going to go out. Some of them are already going to go out today. At the latest, they're actually going to go out Monday. It's mostly because I'm actually waiting for Global Transit to get back some information to me. Global Transit, the IT department, to get back some information to me so I can finalize those documents that I'll provide. Okay? And they've told me by the end of the day today, they'll get those over to me. So depending on how quickly that is, I think they might be able to upload it to the documents I already have. Okay? So that is, a lot of what I've gone over so far is a brief explanation of a lot of the one-off situations that you guys will encounter. Obviously generalized, okay? But that's a lot of the process. Claims, let's talk about claims real quickly. Claims, there's a tab for them where you can see the progress of a claim, and that is for damaged freight, right? However, the Global Trans is streamlining the claims process. And so let me actually show you, in this explanation I'm going to provide you now, let me actually show you carrier rate, which is the customer interface. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull up. The reason why I'm mentioning this now is because the claims process, Global Trans Claims Department is pushing towards us submitting claims through carrier rate, which is the customer interface. It allows them to, upload individual documents a lot better, have it all, together as one single process. So for you to see your customer's carrier rate, first of all, you're going to pull up the customer. You're going to go to users. Okay, you're going to find the user for carrier rate. You're going to click this button that says CR 2.0 switch. Okay, that's going to open up carrier rate, which is their interface. Okay, where they can run quotes, book shipments, do the whole nine. All right. And so this is what carrier rate looks like when they first log on. This is the home page. They can look for rates. They can look up shipments. See the progress of their shipments. They can also upload addresses, and that actually too, you can upload spreadsheets with addresses and contact information, so that when they're running their shipments, it'll auto-populate for them. Also, too, they can actually go in and add products with the NMFC codes and classes and everything right here. So those are also readily available when they're going to do an LTL quote. Okay. So that's a brief overview of carrier rate. I do encourage you guys to explore that a little bit too, so you can kind of, when they're if they ever call you up as they're on carrier rate, if they can't do this, they can't do that, you can visualize it and already know what they're looking at. Okay. Now on those shipments though, when there is a shipment that have damages, they can actually go to that individual shipment and file a claim on carrier rate. Okay. That is the way that they are being encouraged to do it. However, there still is another process that can be done at this point to file a claim if they don't want to do it that way. Okay. But I just wanted to bring this up real quickly. Now, I also wanted to mention here, anytime you go to CR 2.0 switch and you access their carrier rate login, make sure you don't just exit out of the tab. Click in switch. Okay. That makes sure that it logs out properly. Okay. The way that you actually file a claim if they don't want to do it through carrier rate is you go up to this tool tab right here, the documents, okay, and you can actually pull up a claim form right here, and this is the claim form that you would fill out, okay. That's the claim form that you would then provide to me, and I would submit to Global Trans. Along with that claim form, you're going to want to make sure that you provide any photos that they may or may not have, and an invoice for the product and damages. Okay. So that's your claim form process. It's pretty simple. Claims with freight, though, we work as hard as we can to get those handled efficiently, but it's not a week turnaround, a 1 week turnaround where a cut is checked, where a check is cut and sent out for those damages. Technically, once a claim is submitted, the carriers have 3 months to acknowledge the claim. Most of them handle them a lot quicker, and we do have a claims department that is very proactive. We do have a department that's very proactive in following up with them, okay, and making sure that those get processed faster. But it's really follow-up is all it is, and we have good results with that follow-up. But if the carrier wants to sit on it until 59 days, until 3 months, and so until 89 days in, until they acknowledge it, they theoretically can. Now they usually don't, because they value the relationship, the Global Trans corporate relationship, and they really don't want to be known as carriers that are bad with claims, because it gets around. and we already have some InXpress offices that don't ship with certain carriers strictly because of how long they take in the claims process. So that's how that works. Though that information gets submitted to the claims department. The claim is handled through the claims department, and they do very proactive follow-up. And there will be updates anytime there's movement on the claim, like, oh, hey, the carrier's received and acknowledged your claim. There'll be a notification that gets sent out in email. Or the carrier has requested additional documentation. They will send it out, okay, and notify you. Or if at any time you guys want an update, want to request an update, you do that through me. I loop you into the claims department for the claim, and they'll provide you with an update. Okay, that's a quick breakdown of that. Now, that right there is a pretty brief overview of some generalized processes. Are there any questions, overall of what we've mentioned? Obviously with specifics, one thing I want you guys to know, if there's one-off situations that you guys need help with, or even if there's follow-up that you guys need help with, we can do additional webinar trainings, or we can even do screen shares where I can provide you with a screen share link where I hop onto, your computer and help you guys out with processes as needed. Okay, I'm more than willing to do that to help you with one-off situations that you guys might not know how to handle just yet. You can learn. I'm available for that. Okay, but in the meantime, is there any additional questions that I can address?
All my end sounds great.
Sorry, say that one more time.
No questions so far on my end.
Okay, all right. Steve Chisholm, anyone else, Melissa, anything else that I can maybe bring up?
I think we're good on our end. Josh, Jake, again, if you want to send those PDFs for review, that would be great. As well as the links we're going to be talking about previously, that would be fantastic.
I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it, and I just wanted to say that probably this is a learning curve, and obviously, the more we get familiar with the system, it's going to be in the practice whenever we get to handle the system ourselves, and we get to handle the system for the customers as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Hey, John.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Just one question, if I could. I don't know if you need to maybe help answer this. If possible, could we get a login for Lane's team, and you could just create like a new user for my franchise, Park City 140, and that way they could go in, they can create some dummy accounts, they can do some demo shipments to down with that learning curve, because we all know if you get in a system and do some things, that'll help with the learning process and then questions. Would that be possible for you guys to get that created and send to me, and I can get that to that?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Dave, if I still got you on the call, do you want to, you and me coordinate to have that ready for them by Monday when we have all documents prepared?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay, sounds good. Steve, yeah, we'll definitely have that for you. Once again, by Monday morning, we will have all documentation ready, because like I said, Global Trans told me by the end of the day they'd have the rest of the information that I need. And so Monday morning, I could send you over a packet, along with some of the things I'm already going to send over to you today. Okay. And we can get everything over to you, along with the dummy account logins and the instructions on how to get it running on Mozilla Firefox. We'll get that over to you, and then you can, spread out that information accordingly.
Great.
All right. Perfect. Well, if there's no more questions, I think that's what I have to present for the day.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay.